Trips, Chris Hockey, and Meat Sauce this Saturday, May 4th at Aquarius Home Services at Little Canada location. Come check out their customer appreciation sale and say hello to hockey from 1 to 3 and sauce from 3 to 5. More info at KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Thank you, Max Fuller, producing 9 to noon today. Nordo in for PA. PA back on Monday. And I mentioned it when I was chatting with CJ Ham. I had a few pairs of tickets to that celebrity softball event taking place May 30th at CHS Field. It is the Unreal Celebrity Softball Game. It's presented by Choice Bank. Goes to support the Thielen Foundation and the Ham Family Scholarship Fund. And I got a pair of tickets. I'd like to give them away right now. So I said caller 7 before. Let's do caller 10. 800-320-5326, 1-800-320-5326. Caller 10, you're going to get a chance to watch CJ Ham's team offense versus team defense. You're going to get to gates open at 4:30, home run derby at 6, and the softball game is at 7. I'll give a pair now and then a pair maybe at the end of the show. You can go watch celebrity softball with the Vikings at CHS Field on May 30th. Thank you to Max for that. Thank you to Lavelle Neal III, columnist, Star Tribune, at Lavelle Neal via Twitter/X, for hanging out in studio. Haven't seen you in a while. This is awesome, man. Good to see you.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me, man. Good seeing you too.
What'd you think of the draft? I know because on Monday, March 11th, as I was texting you, and we had a little schedule mishap that we resolved. I'm just going to start calling you by the way now. If that's okay with you. Sure. I don't know if you're a phone call guy. I'm typically a texter, but I got this Android phone, and now I have no idea if people get my texts. I hate it. So but I was looking at the texts. On Monday, March 11th, I believe you were in Florida. You texted me this while probably enjoying a cigar on the beach. Vikes need to do what they can to get J.J. McCarthy. The boy is the truth in all caps. I forwarded that text to Kwesi and the front office of the Vikings. Ryan Grigson was on the text chain and all that. And I'm like, this is what Lavelle says. They took your advice and they found their way, and it was tense. It was a little sweaty palms related activity in the front end of that draft. But the Vikings found their way to J.J. McCarthy. How cool is that?
I believe I was in Naples, Florida when I sent you that text, sitting in traffic. At a light. So I might have been on my way to smoke a cigar. I think that was the case.
It's tough to romanticize sitting in traffic, albeit Naples not a bad place to be stuck in traffic.
Absolutely.
But you were on them, and I remember we had talked to you when you were in studio before you departed for Florida for Twins spring training and all the stuff that goes on down there. That was kind of your guy as we entered draft season. J.J. McCarthy, in terms of the Vikings. You know, your squad, you already had that decision handled. That was like in November. They figured out what was going to go on there. But with our team, you're like, J.J. McCarthy, it seems like a fit.
Yeah, I thought so. I just think of the 4 quarterbacks everybody was hyped up about going into the draft. You know, he was one of the more impressive ones. I'm not saying he's better than Kate Caleb-Williams, but I just like the talent and the intangibles. Yeah, Blake Corum was a big running back there, and he ran the ball a lot and ground and pound. But, you know, McCarthy could make plays. He could throw in the tight windows, man. I've seen him step up in crunch time for the Michigan. He did it in a championship game. And, of course, the background, and you look at the background, what's not to like? You know, he's from the Chicago area. He's a Chicago guy.
Oh, here we go.
From a tough guy town. He
did actually say he was a massive Bears fan.
Growing up, he played hockey until his freshman year in high school. So he's a hockey-playing quarterback.
Tough kid in a tough guy town.
Who better to lead the Vikings offense than a hockey-playing quarterback?
And now he's moving to the state of hockey.
Yes.
Of course, he's a Blackhawks fan. So they got Connor Bedard, and we have cap-related issues. And
Is there any way Brock Faber can win the Calder? Is there any way he can win?
I think it's got to be Bedard, doesn't it?
Yeah, but
I would agree. I mean, in terms of impact rookies,
you look at analytics. Faber's numbers are excellent.
He's off the charts.
And the minutes he played, come on.
I don't know what the money these guys are getting. At one point, like the $7 million guy in free agency was a thing. The Matt Boldy, I think, just went 7 by 7. He feels like he's a $9 million guy, isn't he?
Yeah. I would have. Great trade though with Fiala. I was thinking about that the other day when I was watching the Kings get eliminated from the Stanley Cup playoffs, and Fiala was on the ice for the Kings. And I was like, that trade turned out okay because Fiala wanted $6 million a year.
Yeah, and then it
Guerin
was
didn't want to pay it.
well, and it turned people at one point it was Fiala or Dumba, right? They just kind of put those dots together that one of them had to go, and that was the money, and ultimately Dumba goes.
They both gone
a little bit later as well, but I was thinking about that. There's probably people. Because since the draft, I'm sure you followed it, although you got book things going on. We're talking to horns up coaches. We're all over the place, I believe. You probably followed so Kwesi gets JJ at 10, and then he trades back up from 23 to get Dallas Turner. And people are kind of thinking about the trade equity of the draft picks that were involved. We don't have any day 2 picks, et cetera. I think about it if Dallas Turner becomes football's version of what Brock Faber, you're going to forget that Kevin Fiala was even involved in the trade.
Right.
You're not going to worry about that because you got an absolute stone-cold killer on your blue line for the Wild, and you might have a stone-cold killer on your defensive front for the Purple.
It was like the GM of the Buffalo Bills was talking about the capital they gave up for Josh Allen.
Yeah, was that Brandon Beane maybe?
Yeah, and it was sizable. And he was like, here's the thing about that. If it doesn't work out, I'm not going to be here talking to you anyway. If it does work out, no one's going to give a bleep. So if J.J. McCarthy and Dallas Turner work out, no one's going to give a bleep what the Vikings did to them. But it was fascinating to watch how that draft unfurled, the panicking over quarterbacks and offensive players in general.
Yeah. Penix going 8 to the Falcons kind of threw everybody.
There's always one pick that upends everything, and that Penix pick just threw everything. Although I won a dinner, I had a buddy of mine. We had a bet. I said, I bet you Penix goes in the top 10. This was 3 months ago. He was like, no way.
Really?
I'll bet you dinner at Baltimore. I said, you're on. And so it takes one team to make me look good, and that was the Atlanta Falcons.
I have to admit, you would have won a dinner from me if we made that wager as well. And it's not even necessarily because you saw this, the uniqueness of the class. And Knicks, it felt like always Knicks was running last in that conversation of quarterbacks, right? But how deep this class is. You wouldn't believe it. You're going to find a Kirk Cousins quality QB on day 3. These were kind of the things and the takes and the opinions that were bouncing out. And ultimately, Knicks goes at 12. Spencer Rattler is the next guy taken at 150.
That was 3rd round, right?
5th round.
5th.
It's the first time, I think, since the 83 draft that nobody had been taken in the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th rounds.
How about
a quarterback in the draft. So, it did, and if you don't have Patrick Mahomes, you're eternally searching for Patrick Mahomes, right? Which instantly raises the value in which you're gonna draft a guy. But you would have won a dinner from me too. It's not even a shot at Penix. He's a little bit older, but have you seen that deep ball? Kid makes plays.
Yep.
I just didn't. The 8 thing, I always felt like he was 5th in line, and depending upon how the Vikings reacted, and then you got the Broncos and Raiders in the mix, that he would be middle of the 1st round, not top 10. So you whether it's JJ, who's the truth,
right,
or it's Penix, you saw this clearly, Lavelle.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I don't care what Sean Payton says or believes or being cocky about, I made the Vikings panic. He's the one who panicked because there was only one quarterback left when his turn came around. He freaked, and he had to get Bo Nix.
Yeah.
I'd like to see what would happen if Nix and Penix were on the board, which one he would have taken.
You'd take Penix.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Now with that said, and Nix throughout this entire process, again, running last in all of these conversations. And as much as I loathe Sean Payton, and frankly, I can't.
He's a Chicago guy.
I can't wait. Well, he's a cheater, okay? Whether it's Bountygate in 2009, he was the offensive coordinator of the Giants in 41 Donut in 2000, okay? He has a track record of fraudulence and malfeasance, okay? And then I think it's Netflix makes this cool coming-of-age father-son story about when he's suspended during the 2012 season and how cool it was that he got to coach his kid's team.
You just said a word I've never written.
What's that?
Malfeasance.
I don't even know if I used it correctly, to be honest with you. So we'll move on from that. We'll try to water down the vocabulary moving forward so I'm more confident.
Yeah, you just went over the head of about 50% of your listeners.
But I'm so excited. Hey, 9 to noon, educated listener base. Absolutely.
Something aided listener base. I don't know if it's educated.
Well, they're passionate, okay? They're sports fans through and through. I did a barbecue segment, and people lost their minds because they wanted to hear about J.J. McCarthy and the NFL draft. My only point is I'm so excited to move on.
Listen to that. I've never had brisket. I've never made brisket before. I would like to listen to that.
Podcast the episode. You got the manual.
Oh, okay.
The keys to the freaking grilling castle, okay? At your fingertips, at your earlobes via podcast, free iHeartRadio app. It'll be available in about 48 minutes. I'm so excited to move on from the Sean Payton thing. I just don't want to talk about him. Best of luck to the Broncos. I like George Payton. I like the GM. He was an amazing dude. Good to me as just some low-level producer that had to hang around the team on some road trips and stuff. George Payton, just salty, nicest guy ever.
He needs to rally.
But that thing's a disaster.
Yeah, he needs to rally really bad.
But I will say this, last thing on Payton, and then I hope I never have to say his name again, except when if they end up on the Viking schedule. He is a guy that can take a guy like Bo Nix and make it work. Like, he is actually a pretty good coach. And it pains me to say it, I guess, but Nix didn't land in an awful spot from a coaching standpoint, No,
he did not. He's going to be in a good spot with offensive-minded head coach. A couple of decent receivers, if I'm not mistaken. Cortland Sutton, right?
Cortland Sutton.
Is Jerry Jeudy still there?
Jeudy got traded.
Okay.
They do have, I think they still have Tim Patrick, who at one point up and comer, but then he's had like 2 season-ending injuries in a row.
They have Fance at tight end, right?
Fance in Seattle.
God dog it. Who's a tight end there?
Troutman.
Is it Troutman?
Adam Troutman, yep.
Adam Troutman.
There's another one I thought they had. Okay.
Max has his jersey.
Yeah.
Big Adam Troutman guy.
Good Lord.
Huge guy. Yeah. Bought it out of the back of a guy's trunk on First Avenue.
When you were making that run to Colorado for other things.
Hey, whoa. There are plenty of in-state options, aren't there?
Yeah, I don't need to go to Colorado, brother. Come on.
Speaking of quarterbacks, what do you think of that combo? How on fire in a good way the city of Chicago as they get Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze on Thursday night?
I know some people were upset that the Bears didn't take a defensive player with the second pick. I'm all for Rome.
Dallas Turner was available.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I'm pretty sure that Keenan Allen's going to be there just for 1 year. This is the last year of his contract. He's going to be like 32. I'm thinking he's going to be one and done. So Rome could come in a year as a number 3.
What if he loves it there and he comes back on a people? It's tough for people to come to terms with this as they get older. But Keenan Allen seems like a bright dude, like awesome receiver. What if he just this is a great situation? Ryan Poles still has a ton of cap cash, I think.
Yep.
Maybe he comes back on a 2 or a 3 year deal. It's a little front loaded, but let's say it's 10 a year or something like that. Don't write off Keenan Allen.
Well, I don't.
It's probably just 1 year.
I'm just being realistic, though. But unless he wants to pull Mike Evans, 'cause I thought Evans was going to walk after last year with the Buccaneers, and he resigned.
Yeah, he did.
So, but yeah, actually, this is a column I want to write. Who's in a better situation, JJ or Caleb? Caleb comes in with offensive weapons, comes in with an improving offensive line, comes in with DeAndre Swift at running back now.
Yeah.
DJ Moore, who's basically a running back who can catch, because once he catches the ball, he turns into a running back better than any receiver in the league.
DJ Moore is good.
Yeah. Cole Kmet's above average tight end. Didn't say top 5.
Yeah.
Above average.
I heard you.
Gerald Everett's on that team, too. J.J. McCarthy.
How come you know that Gerald Everett's on the Bears, but Noah Fant left Denver 5 years ago? That was 2 years ago.
It doesn't make any sense, does it?
No, it's all good.
J.J. McCarthy.
And now you got Rome Odunze. So you got all the weapons there.
JJ's got JJ.
Yeah.
End of story. Eventually we'll have Hawkinson.
Addison wasn't bad.
Addison's not bad at all. You have Aaron Jones running the ball. You have offensive line that's overall probably better than the Bears, except for the center. But I think the Bears need a new center, too.
We got a left guard situation that's a little weird. And I'm rooting for Blake Brandel, but
why isn't Dalton Reisner re-signed?
See, I think there's got to be a bit with him, not in terms of the pass blocking's good. It would be he's better than Blake Brandel at left guard. So it's not on the field stuff. Does he have a personality thing? Everything he said in public has been so rosy and so positive. He's said the right things, but this is the second year in a row, Lavelle, where he's on the street. Last year it took until September to get a job.
But here's the thing, though. Once they got him, they had no problem trading Ezra Cleveland. No problem.
Yeah.
So I thought they were all in with Dalton Reisner. And watching him.
What if the honeymoon's over and this is the annulment?
When he's run blocking, he's a freaking rhinoceros.
Yeah.
He's down the field. He's being violent with everything he's touching.
No, in the vein of just putting a depth chart together, Dalton Reisner is left guard 1. He's LG 1 over Blake Brandel. Something's got to be up. And if it was something as simple as just the dollars don't make sense, well, that number has to be a heck of a lot different in May now than it was in January or February and once free agency started.
Absolutely. I agree.
So I think there's got to be a personality bit. Is he difficult to work with? I don't know. He's a great personality, great quote, good story behind. Terrific quote.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Something's weird there, Lavelle.
To continue on my little train of thought here.
But yeah, so save for the center. You just everyone bashes Garrett Bradbury.
He has a proven solid game caller in KOC.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's this rumor. I think was it the former Vikings tight end who just retired,
Kyle Rudolph.
Rudolph, I think, went on Twitter saying that it's a hard system for first-year quarterback to pick up.
KOC's?
Yes, and I think another.
It was a hard system for a multi-year starting veteran and Kirk Cousins to pick up.
Yep. So,
and Kirk Cousins is a freaking computer.
Yep. So I think actually JJ is in a slightly better situation than Caleb because he can sit for a year. He can sit behind your boy who sees ghosts.
Do the Bears? do the Bears have?
Caleb has to come in and be the man right away.
Well, what is it? A Ring of Honor? Is it a Hall of Fame? Is there like Hallis Hall of Honor? What do they call their version over there?
Just a Hall of Fame.
It is? Okay. The reason I'm asking, I don't think the Bears have ever had a 4,000-yard passer in a season.
I don't know if they had a 3,500-yard passer. I don't know if Cutler got there.
They did, but I've already forgotten his name. I bet you I remember it's 38 and change is the franchise record.
Unless it was we had the 1 year with the former Detroit Lions quarterback, and he lit it up. That was the Air Bears year. What was his name? God, now you're making me try to remember
season.
things.
I'm going to guess. I don't know. I just saw a Decatur Staley's reference. It was Eric Kramer. In 1995, went for 38-38.
Yeah.
Then the next 4 were Jay Cutler seasons. Gosh, I missed those Jay Cutler with the cigarette in his mouth memes.
The Bears 1 year had Cutler, Matt Forte, Alshon Jeffrey, Brandon Marshall, and Martellus Bennett. How in the hell did that team not average 30 points a game?
It's hard to say. And
they had air superiority.
And see,
and Mark Trestman.
That's why J.J. McCarthy's in a better spot, is because there's the curse of Soldier Field.
The Bears' history, he doesn't have to worry about toppling.
They better reconsider. Are they going to move the stadium to Arlington Heights? Are they going to accept? Are they just going to suck the Chicago taxpayer populace dry with like some $3 billion masterpiece on the shores of Lake Michigan? But they got to get away from whatever that curse is. Because you got Caleb and Rome and Keenan. You can play that game at 3,200 yards, 22 points a game. That's the Bears' curse.
I predict that the Bears end up back on the lakefront in some sort of remodified Soldier Field area in which they keep the colonnades up because that's how they would get around the. Oh, he lost his landmark status. That's right. They lost his landmark status a few years ago. But they want to keep the colonnades for some other park area that would be by the new stadium. So, trying to get the state on board. JB Prisker actually came out this week and said it's a non-starter. And then 2 days later, they agreed to hand, can't remember what car company it is, $900 million in brakes to build a factory in Illinois in Normal. I'm like, you've got it in you. But JJ sitting behind Sam Darnold for a year, I don't think is I don't think it's a bad thing at all.
I don't think it's bad.
I think it's help. So, and like I said, Caleb has to come in and be the man right away. I think advantage JJ in that regard.
That's Lavelle Neal III, columnist, Star Tribune, StarTribune.com. Vikings conversation, as fun as it is. I mean, we got a baseball team that's won 10 in a row, and now people are scrambling to figure out how to watch them. They're hosting the Boston Red Sox this weekend. We got a basketball team tomorrow that's in Denver, in the Mile High, trying to take down the Denver Nuggets. Game 1 tomorrow at 6 p.m. on these airwaves. You're home for the Howl. Let's transition to those topics when we return. It's 9 to noon on the Fan. Max Fuller producing has the cash thing.
The Fan and BigDeck.com want to give you a shot to put $1,000 in your hand with our national cash contest. Enter the keyword green at KFAN.com now for your shot at winning. That's keyword green. Enter it now at KFAN.com. Unapologetically hilarious stand-up comedian, writer, and actress Wanda Sykes is bringing her Please and Thank You tour to Minnesota. Don't miss out when she takes the stage at the Orpheum Theater on Saturday, November 16th. Tickets are on sale now. For more info, head over to KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Welcome back, 9 to noon. Nordo in for PA. Lavelle, Neal III in studio 9 to noon. What do you think of these? What do you think of these Wolves, Lavelle? You know, draft things. I mean, it's super cool. In the NFL draft and the Vikings, they kind of rule the roost when it comes to overall attention. But right now, man, it's all about the howl, dude. The first time out of the first round in 20 years. Max and I, going down memory lane yesterday, looking at things, how the world has changed since the last time I was at Target Center with my jean shorts and my mesh Kevin Garnett jersey in the upper deck, Game 5. I think it was in May of 2004. I went to Game 5 of the Wolves and the Sacramento Kings. Like, how pumped are you for this series to lift off?
Really excited. Excited for this town. I know I take shots at fans every now and then, and I criticized them for overreacting to winning a freaking playing game a couple years ago. But I actually am thrilled for them now to have this type of feeling about a team and enjoying this ride, because it's not just local patriotism. It is national love that they're getting. People are thinking this Wolves team can make a huge run. I heard Sam Mitchell yesterday on Barrero's show breaking down all the different ways that the Wolves could have matchup advantages against Denver, especially if Jamal Murray's playing at 100%, under 100%, and the Wolves are going to throw like their best defenders at him and make him work. Cat being athletic enough to hassle Jokic and let him score 30 as long as it doesn't come with 15 points and 12 assists. Watching Naz Reid, the love he gets when he comes into games. It's just a cool team. Mike Conley, the old wise soul in the locker room, running the show here. And yesterday on Twitter, 2 days ago on Twitter, X, I'm sorry, someone posted a top 10 list of Anthony Edwards dunks, which was just, it was like almost better than some of Jordan's stuff.
Yeah, he's 22. He's already got a top 10 list.
He has posterized so many guys. It's he's just 22.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very entertaining team to watch, and they don't mind playing defense. They don't mind getting dirty. They don't mind being physical because they got players who can play physical.
And Max has done a great job covering the team. He's been, not just man on the street, but whether it's fan line and other bits, he's taken hold of that thing. But Max, like, what a difference a year makes. You're mentioning, Lavelle, putting our best defenders on Jamal Murray. I mean, that's Jaden McDaniels, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Those are two names we didn't get to employ a year ago, did we?
No, and they're going to be the big difference makers in this year. And I would say arguably they were not even arguably, inarguably, they were the two X factors in that first series against Phoenix. The Phoenix didn't have an answer for all of the wing defenders that we had. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I mean, outside of his defense and his three-point shooting, his playmaking, that was one of the huge advantages the Wolves had over the Phoenix Suns. He is a great playmaker. He's shown me enough that I'm willing, when Mike Conley retires, I'm willing to say that Nickeil Alexander-Walker can be the starting point guard for this team, because
that's aggressive.
No, it's not. It's really not. If you see him out there guarding Devin Booker, one of the best offensive players in the NBA, he's out there. He's out there dishing and diming. He understands this offense, and I think obviously he's going to be an X factor in this series too. And Naz Reid, another guy that we didn't have last time when we faced the Nuggets last year, who's going to make a huge difference. I call him the ramen noodle offense because it doesn't take him long to get on the court and start cooking. Naz Reid has came out and saved this team so many different times throughout this season. He's going to make a huge impact. I can't wait. It's so even, but I think I don't know how you feel, Lavelle. I think the winner of this series is going to the NBA Finals and probably going to win the NBA Finals.
I'm glad you said it first because I've been thinking that all week. I have been thinking that this is the heavyweight battle that everybody's going to be watching in the Western Conference. And in all respect, who's up in the other series? The Clippers and...
It's going to be...
Clippers 3-2 over...
it's Dallas 3-2 over the
Clippers.
Right? You know,
to take on OKC.
Oh, I would take a Wolves-Dallas matchup any day of the week.
Yeah.
And maybe the Clippers, too, because they've housed the Clippers a couple of times. But Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Naz Reid are good enough to start for most teams in the NBA.
I'd be willing to say any team. Naz Reid specifically could start on any other team that's not the Minnesota Timberwolves right now.
You're looking at a highly potent 7-man rotation that could go to 9. I haven't even mentioned Slow-Mo, you know?
Who plays pretty good defense on Nikola Jokic, by the way.
Yeah, this team's depth is going to be a factor going forward in the postseason, man. And that's another reason why this team's fun to watch. So get with it, man. This is KFAN's the home of the Howl.
Do you think the Finch thing presents any sort of distraction? Like, it's just kind of it's a weird thing in the mix. He'll be out there with the team later today, I believe. But what an L to take. I mean, in the midst of just all the celebration that's taking place in, Game 4, you probably weren't expected. I mean, you were not expected to sweep the Suns. I don't think that's going out of bounds to say. You do, but then your coach is on.
I called it after Game 2, though.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I wrote the Wolves before column.
What haven't you called, Lavelle? Okay, we got JJ in March. All you do is make predictions.
I didn't call the Twins starting out 6-13 or wherever the hell it was.
Okay, see, there's
definitely
that.
Call that.
There's that. But isn't everything kind of lining up for the Wolves? And I do want to touch on the Twins as well. I mean, they have won 10 in a row. The TV contract conversation has unfortunately really clouded a lot of the positive things that have happened. But everything is kind of fallen in place for the Wolves to truly be on a somewhat singular platform right now. Dust settling from the draft. The Wild, sadly, not in the playoffs. The Twins, sadly, not on televisions. And now you just have the Wolves that have an opportunity to, again, I mean, it's been so long for a city that when this thing is good, it's a T-Wolves city. It's a hoops town, and they finally get to enjoy that. And in some ways, it's kind of uninterrupted and unimpeded by competing options.
Well, what if this junky deadline for negotiating the Comcast deal was April 1st and not May 1st?
Ugh.
And that would have hit the Wolves right when they're finishing the regular season, heading into the postseason.
Would be even... Well, but...
That would have been a major buzzkill.
So that would have been a buzzkill. There's no doubt about it. But and Twins fans, by the way, it's like they're not daft to technology. I mean, VPN here and streaming site there, like they're figuring it out. But even a Wolves fan could watch Wolves games with the Bally's Sports package, the streaming package. The Twins are the only one you don't get on it.
Oh, I got a question, and this is for the listeners, especially those who have cabins up north. Another buddy of mine was telling me that the Comcast thing is not the first time that Bally's has been taken away from viewers. Apparently, Dish Network is like the preferred way to watch television up in the cabins because you can't run lines, and they're all by like lake homes and stuff.
Sure.
And so it was like 2018, 2019 that Dish could not come to an agreement with the Diamond Sports. Well, it was a Fox Sports North that became Bally Sports.
Okay.
And so they got taken off of Dish. So there's people who go up to cabins on the weekends and can't watch Twins games or hockey games.
Right.
When the Wild are playing. So I was trying to know, is that really true? How widespread is that? And I'm also imagining the modern cabin probably has more of a smart TV setup where you just have a bunch of apps you want to access things with. But I was wondering if cabin life is a little bit watered down by the fact you can't watch your favorite sports teams, local teams.
I don't have that answer for you. I know, DirecTV and those other places have accommodated the digital world, so apps and smart TVs, like, that's all good.
Hey, Lavelle, can I ask you a question real quick?
I might have an answer.
You're more of an old school guy. I'm sure you watch Michael Jordan play the game of basketball. Ooh. Anthony Edwards is getting a lot of comparisons to Michael Jordan lately. I know a lot of Wolves fans are really hype about it. Some are more apprehensive and a little nervous that he's getting compared to the GOAT at such a young age. Do you see the comparisons, do you agree, do you disagree, or do you have a more apt comparison in NBA history for Anthony Edwards?
I see similar in terms of ability to get to the rim and finish. I see some similarities between Anthony and MJ. And if you remember the first couple years with Anthony, he would get to the rim, but just could not finish. He would miss a lot of cripples. And those are starting to fall more. Highlight reel dunks, they're similar. The thing about Jordan, and people forget this, is that on the days when he was going to be unstoppable, that mid-range game was popping early. He would drive, pull up from 12, swish. Drive, pull up from 15. Drive to the baseline, pull up, swish. Ant is not quite there. If he ever adds that tool to his toolbox, look out. Then he's going to be averaging 30, 32 points, 35 points a game. Because that's how Jordan got the 37 points a game, was his ability to have the mid-range game, to go with the three-point shooting and the drive to the basket. I think Ant's got signs of two of those three.
Was it WGN in Chicago?
Yes. Jim Durham, John Rick Kerr.
Well, because I had those channels. It was White Sox, Cubs, and then on TBS it was Braves games. But growing up watching all those the championship parades on WGN and Jordan, see, as Max has said, I've heard all those MJ comparisons of late. Mm-hmm. It kind of makes me uncomfortable, but I'm also super in awe of Ant. And so it feels...
And they both like playing defense.
And they both actually play defense. He does have, Max used the perfect word, old school in some respects. Who you got in this series?
Wolves in 6 or 7. Let me say 7. Wolves in 7.
Wolves in 7?
I think it's going to be a heavyweight battle. I think it's going to be both teams are going to land punches. Both teams have to get off the mat. And both teams are going to have to retaliate. But in the end, I think the Wolves' depth and their defensive ability that creates matchup problems for the Nuggets will lead them into the Western Conference Finals.
I'm going to go upstream because
5 Wolves in 5.
Well, it's because I thought the Wolves had a very good chance of losing the series against the Suns, and everything that happened was contrary to how I had viewed this situation. So I'm going to do the opposite of my instinct. I'm just going to say Wolves in 5. That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say, that whether it's Jaden or it's Nickeil Alexander-Walker, if you can limit the clutch ability, Denver's as good as it gets in the final 5 minutes of games, and these will be razor wire thin games from a margin standpoint. You take Michael Porter Jr. is actually a bigger talker, I think, than most people are giving it, because
bigger than Devin Booker.
In the way that he plays and has been playing, absolutely. He is a big... Devin Booker not only got worked out of his game, he dismantled and crippled himself by being a whiner and a complete disaster at times. Bradley Beal fouling out with just the worst. I mean, they absolutely got punched and had nothing to give back. This is different. But I just, if we can handle Jamal, Michael Porter Jr. is the talker for me, and how they handle him in these games is he has exploded statistically across the board, career highs. He is stone cold right now. Handle Michael Porter Jr. It's Wolves in 5. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Too bad his brothers can't handle themselves better.
What do you think? Wolves in 5, Max? Are you on that?
I'm feeling Wolves in 5 too. That's how I've been feeling.
I'll give them 1.
I don't think it's going to be like 4 blowouts or anything like that. That'll be back and forth games, but I think Wolves in 5. Baby.
You're going to tell me that the Wolves are going to go 8-1 in their first 2 playoff series?
Why not?
Yeah. And I better see you jumping on the table at the Target Center, taking your shirt off, Lavelle, if they do it in 5.
You're going to be the one making me dinner.
You don't want the eclipse to come out here if I take off my shirt. But I will be there at Tuesday's game. I'm covering Tuesday's game.
Zach drove to Indianapolis to see one eclipse. He's in for another. I will say that. Final segment. Let's pause, come back, put a wrap on things with Lavelle Neal in studio. Max Fuller's here. I'm Nordo. It's the Fan. Final segment, 9 to noon. Nordo in for PA, and Lavelle with me for just a couple more minutes. This is a yearly affair, Lavelle.
Wolves in 5, unbelievable.
Wolves in 5, absolutely. You said Wolves, and you gave yourself a little breathing room with 7. Okay, I just think, I think it's easier to win Game 5 in Denver than it would be to win Game 7 in Denver, but that's just me. But that's okay. That's okay. Wolves in 7 for you. But either way, we're all on the how. So we're a community
Alexander
here.
Walker starting point guard.
Game 1 is
Watch it. I want a handwritten letter when it happens.
I'm rooting for that hard now. I can't wait for that to come true.
He was an afterthought in the Conley trade.
Well, not anymore. He was put in a spot where he had to be big, and he's been nothing but a juggernaut defensively and as a side scoring piece. Like, things are good with Neal. Things are not good. Again, this is the annual conversation. The Byron Buxton update. Do you have a Byron Buxton update for us?
We're still waiting to hear the results of the MRI he had yesterday when he returned from the road trip. I checked in with someone yesterday because I can't help myself. Even though I'm a columnist and no longer a beat writer, I still get nosy at times.
Yeah. Your key card still works at Target Field, doesn't it?
Yeah. So the people I reached out to were concerned, but only because of history.
Yeah.
One minute, it could be nothing. Maybe he just heard a pop and decided he just didn't want to push it.
Sure.
But his history comes into play here when these things.
I like the way you put it off the air, actually, as we were talking about it, where it's kind of evolved from slamming into people, slamming into center field, the diving catch, falling awkwardly, fouling balls off of himself.
Blunt force injuries.
Yeah, great. That's perfect. Perfect way to put it. It's transitioned from that into, like Royce. He's rounding freaking second base, like stuff like that. The innocuous is now becoming serious, and that's concerning.
Yeah, and Royce, looks like Royce All-Star break could be great for Royce in terms of coming back.
Okay.
I know they were going to wait to evaluate him after a month, which we're just about at now.
Yeah.
But I think there's going to be a slow build-up with him.
Okay.
A friend of mine just tore his quad, putting his dock in at the lake by his house. Had surgery, 6-month recovery.
Yeah.
You can't mess with quads. I immediately went online to look up pulled quad muscles, and they're like, it takes 2 months to recover from. So if there's even a little bit of a tear, it's probably longer for Royce.
I got to be honest. I mean, putting in a dock does sound more labor intensive than rounding second base, but who am I to say?
Right.
Give me something positive. Final couple minutes of the team, though. I mean, Royce is out. Oh, you mentioned All-Star break. Byron, we're all waiting, pins and needles for an update on that, and it's just that part's bad. The TV contract's bad, but the team has won 10 in a row. That's good, and they got the Sox at home this weekend.
Yeah, and they've beaten teams they should beat, and it's easier to say that, but it's been done. They took the victories.
Yep.
Even if you're playing an inferior team, they may figure out a way to win a game. They just took 7 from the White Sox. The Sox couldn't win 1 of those 7. Yeah, they're bad.
What do they get, 19 total this year? Can we count on the other 12? Feels like it.
It looks like it.
All
Yeah.
right, so let's tally those 12 wins. I like that.
So Boston's in town. This will be a tester of a month here because they got the Yankees, they've got Toronto. I think they also have Houston, and Houston's like shockingly in last place in the AL West, I believe. So we're going to see how this goes. The one thing I'm really we thought the bullpen was going to be a plus going into the season. It's really been a plus, and they've done it without Duran for the most part.
And now Duran's back.
And
that's
Justin
awesome.
Topa should come back here soon. Although when it was out in St. Paul in the last few days was not good. But I mean, Cole Sands has evolved as a reliever.
Yeah.
You got Stewart, and you got Thielbar's healthy now. And Okert's solid. When the Royals went to the World Series, their bullpen was highly touted, and it was like
that was the bit. I mean,
if they
Wade
were lead by
Davis
6,
and a couple others, I think. I mean, they get to the 6th, 7th inning, and the game's over.
With this team, the Twins may be in a good spot if they're leading through 5. And for a team in which the last 2 bullpen rotation spots, Chris Paddock and currently Simeon Woods Richardson, are kind of finding their way, that's a plus.
Thanks for hanging out, man.
My pleasure.
That's Lavelle Neal. He's got a book coming out June 11th, so stay tuned for that. You'll hear a lot about that in the weeks leading up to it. Follow his work, StarTribune.com, and at Lavelle Neal via X. Thanks so much. A lot of moving parts to the show today. Max Fuller producing, whether it was Dick Girardi on Horsey, CJ Ham, the charity piece, my buddy Aaron from Northern Fire cooking the perfect brisket, and Chad Greenway opening the show in studio today. Thank you to everybody for joining. Thank you for listening. It's the Grum next right here on the Fan. Have a great afternoon.
Today's Paul Allen Show, or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.